Hello everyone, welcome to Vinyl Tag 2022. Now every year someone posts what they call a vinyl tag where they have a list of questions for you to show different albums. And it's an easy way for a lot of people to show different albums from different genres, and they've already got the questions and how they're going to answer them. And the first video I ever did was actually vinyl tag, even though it was like 6 months later. But that's what I started in the VC. It was in June of a year and a half ago, something like that. Well, anyway, this year I guess there's several vinyl tags going on right now, but the one that I saw first is the one Rob Walker did over in the UK. So I'm going to go with his, and he's got 22 questions, and I'm just going to get right into it. All right. The first question he has: your favorite album purchased in 2021. That's probably going to be this John Hyatt album with the Jerry Douglas band. Jerry Douglas, the amazing dobro player. This kind of reminds me of John Hyatt's Crossing Muddy Waters, the acoustic album that he did. And this is just a fantastic album by John Hyatt, who's such a great songwriter. And it's on New West right there. So that's the answer to the first one. The next question is an album by the first person that you saw live. Well, the first live concert I went to was at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City, and the group that I saw was the Michael Stanley Band, and they're actually out of, I think, Cleveland, Ohio, and this is their album Lady's Choice from 1976, and kind of coming apart here. They were on the Epic label, and Lady's Choice is the title cut's a really good song. Probably the one I remember the most on this one, and I'm pretty sure that they did it in concert because they're pretty it's Strike Up the Band, which is one of their most famous tunes. They do have a great live album too to check out, but the Michael Stanley Band is the first band that I saw live. All right, album by a duo. So I'm picking Daryl Hall and John Oates, Bigger Than Both of Us. And on this one's the big hit was Rich Girl, nice blue-eyed soul from Hall and Oates. This was on the RCA label. The next prompt is to show an album still in the shrink. And not only in the shrink, it's still sealed, and that's this Hank Williams Jr. Born to Boogie, which I think I'll open it eventually. This came in a collection I had. I'm familiar with the album. A friend of mine used to have it, but for right now, I have not listened to it, and it's still in the shrink. Okay, next is a concept album, and maybe one of the first concept albums, and this is this wonderful album by Frank Sinatra and the Wee Small Hours. This is kind of an album that all flows together about songs of longing, and it's in the evening, going back over your life and what could have been, those kind of feelings. It all kind of flows together with Nelson Riddle Orchestra on here, and it's got so many of his good songs like Mood Indigo, Deep in a Dream, Can't We Be Friends, but wonderful album by Frank Sinatra, maybe the first concept album. And it was on, of course, Frank was on the Columbia label. I mean the Capitol label, Columbia. He was on Columbia before he went to Capitol. All right, the next is, all right, the number 6 is to show an album you have not played yet, which is, there's a lot of those I haven't played yet. I bought so much this last year, and it's just stacking up. But one of them I picked is this Pearl Harbor album, Don't Follow Me, I'm Lost Too. They were one of the, Pearl Harbor and the Explosions, I guess, were one of the first new wave groups. I think they formed in San Francisco. And the lead singer, I guess her name was Pearly Gates. But after the group disbanded, she went out on her own she changed her name to Pearl Harbor. And like I said, I haven't listened to this yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's supposed to be pretty good. So That's my album I haven't listened to yet. And album you just discovered, artist you've discovered in 2021. And this one is just a fantastic album. It's a group called The Drums. I guess they formed in New York City. This is a reissue. I think this came out in 2009, but the album originally came out in 2006. But it's kind of jangle pop with some electronics in there also, and they just have some Beach Boys influences, just wonderful sounding melodic pop, and I am just amazed at this album. This is just a fantastic album. A group called The Drums on nice blue vinyl on this reissue. So I gotta start getting more of their stuff because I really love this album, and it's The Drums. Okay, next. An album from a different continent. Nope. I skipped one. It's actually a live album. So I'm going with Tom Waits, Nighthawks at the Diner. This is such a fantastic, kind of a small club. He does quite a few songs on here that are not on any of his albums. And some of them are just talking. He just seemed like a wonderful entertainer to see live that unfortunately I was never able to see him, and he hasn't done anything for several years now. But I would recommend this to people that know his later material. May think he's too abrasive, but this is the album to go, a little more mainstream, a little more digestible for a lot of people. But the great album, Nighthawks at the Diner. Number 9, show an album from a different continent. So I'm going to pick Europe, the country of Sweden, and I'm going to pick ABBA's Arrival. I told Richard McCook over there in Northern Ireland, who's a big ABBA fan and raves about their new album, that I didn't have any ABBA, but I finally bought this one. I mean, I knew all their hits and things like that, but I'm finally on the ABBA bandwagon, and this is a fantastic album. Of course, it's got Dancing Queen, the big hit, Knowing Me, Knowing You, another big song over here in the U.S. anyway. But ABBA's Arrival is on the Atlantic label. So, what do we go next? Is to show an album with a price sticker on the jacket. So this was Charlie Rich, The Silver Fox is the name of it. It's on a discount label, Power Pack. Let me get it out of here. That's not it, actually. There's another album in there. I don't think I've listened to this yet. There it is on the Power Pack label. Silver Fox, Charlie Rich. What else was in here? Great country hits of the 70s. Oh, I got a 2-for here. Well, this album was actually given to me, so I didn't even pay the $1.97 that's on here. But anyway, Charlie Rich, the Silver Fox, great country artist, great voice. Have to check out his early material too. It was a little more rockabilly and things like that. Real influential, and he even later did a jazz vocal album. Number 11 is to show a punk or new wave album. So I'm going with this group out of Texas, and I think I said the wrong thing on the other one. This is the album that came out in 2006. I think this is the 2009 reissue. But anyway, so I was wrong about the drums. But anyway, this was on Dirt Nap Records, and they're kind of I would call them they're called garage punk. It's kind of punk with a lot of melody, but I was really impressed. I'll have to get some more of their material. The Marked Men, the album Fix My Brain. All right. Show a box set. So I'm going with this box set I got. Glenn Kelway talked me into it. I'm glad I got it. And that's the band. This has all their studio albums, including the live album Rock of Ages. But of course, two of the best albums ever, I think, are The Band and Music from Big Pink. But wonderful set by the band, great Americana, I guess you could call it. But that's my box set. 13. Show an album with a sporting theme. So I'm going with boxing. And this great Van Morrison album, Roll with the Punches. And this was kind of when he's been in his jazz and blues phase, where he does a bunch of covers. Actually has 5 originals on this one. And he's got Jeff Beck playing on here. So I recommend this to anybody that's a Van Morrison fan to check out. Roll with the Punches. All right. Number 14 is to show a jazz album. So I'm showing this Art Blakey album, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, The Witch Doctor, and the Jazz Messengers on here with him are Lee Morgan on trumpet, Wayne Shorter on tenor sax, Bobby Timmons on piano, Jimmy Merritt on bass, and of course Art Blakey on drums. And one of my favorites on here is actually the song written by Bobby Timmons, although Wayne Shorter wrote several of these, I think. But by the Bobby Timmons tune, A Little Busy, I really like that one. But great jazz album by Art Blakey. All right, here we go. Number 15, show a best of album. So I'm going with the great Jimmy Cliff, and this is a Reggae Greats. Has a bunch of his hits on there, like The Harder They Come, Many Rivers to Cross, Sitting in Limbo, Vietnam. But great collection of his material. I've got a couple other Jimmy Cliff albums, but this has a lot of his hits. And the Mango label put out quite a few of these Reggae Greats for some of the different reggae artists. I've got the Toots and the Maytals one too, but Jimmy Cliff for a hits album, or best of album. Number 16, an album with at least 8 people on the jacket. So I'm going with this Jackson Browne album, The Pretender. It looks like he's walking in New York City, and you know there's a lot of people in that one. This was the first Jackson Browne album I bought. It's got Here Come Those Tears Again, the famous song The Pretender, Your Bright Baby Blues I love, but probably my second favorite Jackson Browne album next to Late for the Sky, but wonderful album all the same, The Pretender. Number 17 is to show a soundtrack album. So I'm going to go ahead and show my favorite soundtrack album, and that's Ennio Morricone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And this was on United Artists label. And if anybody had seen the movie, when they're running through the graveyard and they're playing that song, The Ecstasy of Gold, that is just magnificent. But yeah, great album, great movie. All right, show some VCLT, and that was Mississippi Fred McDowell and his album Mississippi Delta Blues. This was on the Black Lion label, and this was sent to me by the great George Allen, and I thank George for that, and he sent me some other things too, but this is the album I'm going to show. Of course, Floyd McDowell was very influential, and several rock artists, English blues artists, covered his tunes. Okay, number 19 is to show an album with no writing on the jacket. And I'm showing this one right here. Beautiful cover. This is actually a compilation called Written on the Wall, American Soul Music, 1958 to 1974. And there's been several volumes of these come out, and they're on the Cairo label, but it has hard to find soul and R&B, and it usually has a really nice booklet with the Usually has a couple of artists that you know, but a lot of obscure ones. Got some nice cover photographs and talks about the artists that are on here. And when these come out, they sell out right away. And it's on, like I said, it's on the Cairo label, because if you wait, it's going to be probably 3 times as much as what the original cost was, because these sell out fast. So that's my no writing on the label. Show a 7-inch single. I'm going with Graham Parker, Stupefaction, great song that was on the Up Escalator album. And then on side B is Women in Charge, which it was not on any album. Yeah, it's actually still got the price on there. Capers Corner, $1.25. On the Arista label. But Graham Parker, one of my favorite artists. Pub rock. Fits in with kind of, if you're like Elvis Costello, you like Graham Parker. And that's my single. Show Colored Vinyl album. This album came out on Record Store Day. It's actually a regular release. This is a studio album that came out in 2020 for the Flesh Tones, and it's called Face of the Screaming Werewolf. Really good kind of garagey, punkish rock with some great instrumentals on here too. Neat cover right there with the tombstones. There's the band. And show you that cool, it came out on Yep Rock. There's the cool splatter vinyl. So I only got one left, and I wanted us to show something from 40 years ago, which would be 1982. And before I do that, you want a mask that comes with your Flesh Tones album. Forget that. So anyway, the song from an album from 40 years ago, and I'm picking the Australian group Ice House, and this is their album Primitive Man, kind of a new wave-ish, a little electronic, a little synth pop, but was on the Chrysalis label. The big song, at least in the US, and I remember seeing it on MTV, the big song of theirs was Hey Little Girl. But if you like synth pop or alternative pop, I would suggest the Ice House. And that concludes the vinyl tag, and I will post his original, post the link down in the bottom. You know what I'm saying. But and then it'll have he has the questions on his page. So anybody else wants to join in, I would welcome that, and hope everyone's having a great new year. Take care.